Good morning, everyone. One of the first things we were taught as children was, 2 wrongs don't make a right. This week's Torah portion has the commandment, Lo sa'asu avel ba'mishpat. Do not commit a perversion in justice. Literally, the verse is talking to the judges, that they should be just in their judgment and not commit a perversion of injustice. However, the Meshech Chachma says that this verse is applying to every single person. So he says, Lo sasu avel, don't commit a perversion in the name of justice. What does that mean? Imagine a person cheated you in business. They took advantage of you unfairly, and you lost a certain amount of money because of their dishonesty. And now you have an opportunity to do a deal with them, and you could get back the money you lost by taking advantage of them. So you may do this perversion in the name of justice. I'm justified because normally I'm an honest person. I would never cheat in business. But in this case, I'm getting back what is due to me. Says the Torah, Lo sasu avel, don't commit a perversion in the name of justice, that I'm justified in this case. Because at the end of the day, if you do something unjust, you become a corrupt person. And you become a perverted person. And you become a dishonest person. And therefore you do you. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Yes, they've done something wrong, but that doesn't justify you doing something unjust in the name of your own justification. And this applies not only to financial matters, it applies to all areas of life. Sometimes you're a good person, you would never hurt anyone, you would never insult anyone, you would never, God forbid, badmouth someone, but someone did that to you. And now you feel, well, that's not normally my character, but in this case, I'm going to get even with this person. I'm going to give them a taste of their own medicine. I'm going to show them. I'm going to punish them for what they've done. And I'm going to go out of my character to get even with this person because they deserve it because of what they've done to me. Says the Torah, don't stoop to someone else's level. You do you. Don't lower your standards, because then you become that kind of a person. And even though you feel justified to do that, don't commit a perversion in the name of your own justification. Last week we had Yom HaShoah, the day that we commemorated the Holocaust and the murder of 6 million Jews, men, women, and children. And one of the famous survivors was Elie Wiesel, Nobel Prize winner, who became the voice and the conscience of the 6 million. And he was once being interviewed, and the interviewer said to him, what was the most painful moment and experience of your years in Buchenwald and the concentration camps? And he said, the most painful moment was when I was 14 years old. I was in the camp with my father. His father's name was Elisha Wiesel. And the Nazis would give us a 1 piece of hard stale bread at the end of the day. And I was famished. I was starving. I was in pain. And I quickly ate my bread to try to satisfy my hunger. But I was still famished. I was still so hungry. It wasn't enough. I was malnourished. And so I looked over to my father, and I saw my father was still holding his piece of bread. And suddenly I had a thought, oh, how I wish my father would just die so I can take his piece of bread and eat it. And then I realized what a horrible thought I just had. And I was so embarrassed that I could even have such a thought. And he said, that's what the Nazis did. They turned us into... They took a boy who was 14 years old, who was an innocent, sweet boy who loved his father, and they turned me into someone that due to my starvation, I was able to even have such a horrible thought about my father. And he said, till today, decades later, that thought is the most painful and shameful moment that I ever experienced in the Holocaust. And when I heard the story, I realized, look at the difference between the murderers, the Nazis, and their victims. The murderers murdered men, women, and children, and were able to have no conscience about the murder of 6 million innocent men, women, and children. But their victims were so righteous that this 14-year-old boy lived his whole life with the shame and the guilt of having such a thought about his father. Obviously, he did not commit anything wrongdoing. His father died in Buchenwald tragically. He named his son Elisha after his father. But just for having such a thought, he said that was the most painful, shameful moment in his life. When we lower ourselves to other people's standards and we become like them, that's when we become ashamed of ourselves. Be yourself. You do you. Don't allow others to change your righteous and noble character. Have a wonderful day.